Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hey everyone.
Hey guys.
So, what do we have going on today? Well, it is just 1 week since the big update and forced wipe. And as we generally see on these first weeks after a forced wipe, not a ton to show off on staging. Nevertheless, we will go through what is going on in development, and there are some interesting things happening in development. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to do at Miss D underscore that's me in chat. And we'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Real quick, before we get into development news, what's going on with whips today? When are server wipes? Well, for Rustafied, it is the weekly Thursday wipe servers wiping today. And they wipe at regular scheduled time, which is 3 p.m. local time for the region. That means AU and SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago. And EU wiped 3 hours ago. Had to think about that for a second. And US is wiping in 2 hours at 3 p.m. EST. So that's what's going on with wipes today. They are map wipes only, as a lot of servers did blueprint wipe with the force map wipe last week. Another thing with regards to wipes, I want to touch on real quick. I realized this as I was just looking at my calendar. It is a 5 Thursday month this November. And so, what that means for our bi weekly servers in particular is they'll actually have 3 wipes throughout the month, the last of it being 1 week only. So, on the 30th of this month, it's a Thursday, and the bi weeklies, like the mediums and the trios, will wipe again, and they'll have a 1 week wipe until December 7th when we expect the next force wipe and update to come. So that's just a little heads up with regards to whip schedules this month. So what's going on in development this week? Well, there are a number of fixes underway. This is not uncommon after a forced wipe and update. And some of them are already live. You might recall after the Thursday update last week, there were some red text issues on the left side of the screen, and it was just spamming a bunch of DLSS errors and everything like that. So, what they did was they did temporarily force disable DLSS, which is a graphical setting, and that was the thing causing the errors. And they put that live in a client update. And now they're working on fixing that, the source of that error. And I don't know if a fix is officially ready to go yet, but I imagine DLSS will be ready to go back on if you want it on for the update in December. Also, there were some issues with building block placement after the update and forced wipe last week. And we saw a little hotfix earlier this week go live to make it a little bit better and to resolve some of those placement issues. So both those things are live. They're also working on a couple other fixes and stuff. Now, a lot of this stuff is still existing on staging or certain other branches on staging. But one thing they're doing is they're moving the top storage adapter slot on the tool cupboard closer to the center so that the input slot isn't blocked when a tool cupboard is placed flush with the wall. That doesn't seem to be on staging yet, but that's a nice little quality of life fix we're seeing come in. They're doing some fixes for parachutes deploying near helicopters because that's not exactly where I think they want it to be quite yet. They're doing some dropped item fixes. You might recall with the update last week, they did this fix where you can be, say, on a boat and you can, or any vehicle, and you can drop a gun on the ground. And previously, they would always just go through the boat and just sink. And I can't imagine how many guns and various other items have been lost over the years to players who just didn't know better and dropped those things thinking, well, you'd think it would just stay on the boat, right? But that was resolved in a big way last week with the update. But there's still some fringe cases, and so there's still some things that need to be fixed because that's kind of weirdly enough a little complex issue. So they're doing some more dropped item fixes. They're also fixing the black boo. Ooh, geez, as I have a stroke on stream here. Blackjack, that's the game. They're fixing that stalling if a non-primary player left the game early in a round. There's also an NRE fix for when using a Nyoka in a rocking chair. I can't imagine a lot of people are sitting in the rocking chairs using a Nyoka, but when they are, it's causing an NRE. So that's being resolved. And they're also attempting to fix an edge case where triangle floors and triangle roof stability goes after a server restart. So that's being worked on as well. And that's just a number of fixes. There's a couple more probably being worked on as well. And generally speaking, now that we're a week after the update, I'd say I wouldn't expect too many more like random optional hot fixes going live throughout the month. Probably a lot of these fixes and various things being worked on are just going to wait until the December 7th update and forced wipe, which is, I guess, about 4 weeks away now. And as always, we'll keep you posted as more, happens and comes to light. Another thing going on in development is a new weapon is underway. We saw this new branch called B underscore shotgun. I'm not sure why they called it B shotgun, but on that branch, we're seeing the initial stages of an M4 shotgun being worked on. Now, if you're not familiar, M4 is a tactical shotgun made by Benelli, an Italian company, and it's a semi-auto shotgun. It fires 12 gauge rounds like most shotguns do, and it tends to hold 6 rounds per magazine, I think. I'm not a weapons expert, so if I'm getting any of this wrong, let me know, but that's my sense of it. It's a tactical shotgun. It's more of a higher tier shotgun, not like a rinky dink rust, like janky put together shotgun. It seems more of a high tier level weapon. Whether people want to see that come in the game or not, I don't know, but it is being worked on. No word on how it will be obtained, what it's going to cost, and how rare it will be, because it's still very much in the infancy stages of being worked on. There's the view models, the textures, and the initial animations are basically the realm in which they're working now on that B shotgun branch. So, as with everything else, we'll keep you posted as more comes to light on this new weapon being worked on. Now, also this week, it's another hack week going live. This is probably the fourth or fifth hack week we've seen in the past year or so. If you're not familiar, a hack week is basically where the developers can kind of pause on whatever they're working on, whatever projects they're working on, and then pick just anything that they want to see in the game, anything that they want to work on. They can just pick that and start a new project. Now, one of the things with Hack Week projects is very often they don't make it into the game. Sometimes they do, like the chat emojis we did eventually see in the game. There's been a couple other things we've seen from Hack Week projects that have made it into prime time, but many don't. Like there was the airbase thing where you could attach a hot air balloon to a base you built and then it would float away, which was definitely an interesting concept, but like that kind of just floated off into Never Neverland and isn't going to make it in the game. But that's where Hack Week projects land. They're just kind of just random things that the dev wants to work on, they've pictured in the game and they'd like to see. And maybe some of them will make it into the game. So take that with a grain of salt as I run through the different Hack Week projects being worked on. One top of the list is voxel rating. Now, voxel rating, if you're not familiar with what like voxel means in the gaming sense, but it's basically like variable parts. Oh man, now I'm trying to explain it on the fly, and I'm like, shit, I don't even know how to explain it.
So
It's
instead of it being one entity, it's made up of parts, right? So
thank
you
you,
can affect
yeah.
it in different ways according to the physics within the game. Would you say?
Exactly. So it's like basically with rating when you, and there's a video linked on rustafied.com if you want to see that shows a great example. Jake Rich made it when he was developing this and released it. But it's basically like the walls break apart in pieces when you're rating instead of the whole wall breaking apart. So it looks like the building blocks will be split into multiple subsections and those will be removed depending on the physics of the raid and where the damage is being dealt. So that's an interesting one. It definitely makes the damage and destruction of the building look more interesting and more dynamic. And yeah, we're not sure if it's going to make it into the game, but it definitely is an interesting new thing being worked on. Another thing, and this is totally random, but I just saw it on Twitter, is and this is Art of Pilgrim working on this, is a Gamma Gotchi, which is, from what I can see, a Rust Tamagotchi. I don't know if you remember Tamagotchis. It's kind of a throwback, isn't it? But that was like that little handheld. It was like a keychain thing, but it's a little digital display, and on it you've got this little Tamagotchi that you gotta. What did you have to do with that? Like feed it and like
Feed it. I think it pooped, didn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
pooped. You
pretty
like
much
pet it
it.
or something. That was pretty much it. You try to
Probably,
keep it alive.
yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Um, yeah.
It's like
So
a sim on a keychain.
yeah, exactly. It's like this little like life sim on a keychain, and maybe we'll be able to do that in Rust now. I don't know. I guess you'll be able to hold on to your Gamagotchi in Rust and check on it maybe and feed it. I don't know. That's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
out there one. That's a really random one, but hey, I think it's cool. They're also working on this branch called Rust Expressions, which uh, from the looks of it, it's a basic blockout in-game code editor. So it's basically allowing you to edit code in the game. I get the sense this is just going to be for developers to mess with, maybe modders at some point, maybe people creating mods. But they're doing a bunch of stuff with that, and a lot of the commits are kind of cryptic and stuff. But it looks like a basic in-game code editor. It's not usable yet, but this is just another Hack Week project being worked on. They're also working on one branch called Fast Mirror. And I imagine this is to get the mirrors working reliably and functioning in a performant fashion. You might recall the DLC that just went live last week, the Frontier Base Decor DLC, originally had a couple mirrors. There was like 4 different mirrors in it. And they were kind of wonky though, because like the visual of the mirror only showed up when you got a certain angle on it and a certain distance from it. And then you could see the actual reflection show up. And before that spot, it just kind of looked like a shiny surface, so to speak. But they took it out of the DLC at kind of the last minute just because the performance wasn't what they wanted it to be. And I can imagine that being the case, because if people set up a wall of mirrors and each mirror is having to calculate, what reflection it's rendering and everything like that, I can see how that would bottleneck pretty quick. And so this fast mirror functionality, I believe, is just working on getting mirrors to like function as a mirror would, but in a performant fashion. So maybe we will see mirrors come into the game. I imagine I mean, maybe they'll launch them just to people who own the DLC because it was going to be part of the DLC, or maybe they'll just be generous and when the mirrors are ready to go, they'll just release them to everyone in the game. But I think a mirror is a cool item in the game, but not at the sacrifice of performance, right? Because we need every bit of performance that we can get in this game. So we'll keep an eye on this. And as with all Hack Week projects, it might never make it into the game, but that is another one being worked on. Another interesting one is the initial stages of server side player movement. And so this is actually having the servers calculate player movement as opposed to clients. Now I can see some benefits with this, especially in like anti-cheat detection and stuff like that. But as a server owner, it's a little confronting because that's going to be a lot more calculations on the server end. And already to run a server, it uses a shitload of resources. Like literally, we need for to run like one of our main servers, we have a beefed up 13 gen, huge ass computer solely dedicated. Like that one piece of hardware is solely dedicated just to run the Rust server, which if you compare that to like running Counter-Strike servers or a lot of other games, it uses so much more resources than a normal game host would. And that's already the case. So if they're moving server side player movement or player movement calculations over to the server side, that's going to be more overhead on the server side. And that could be a fucking headache. But it could also be a really good thing as far as showing different players a more realistic like view of where players are, and also being able to catch people doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, type of thing, hacking, things like that. So it's interesting to see, but this is the initial work on the process of moving the player movement to the server side. And given it's a Hack Week project, we might never see it, but it is an interesting one that they're working on. They're also reworking some of the cliffs in the game. And this is something that a lot of people have requested over time. I do agree the cliffs could be a little more optimized in their shape and their function and stuff like that. So they're doing a little cliff rework as well. And then finally, the last one that we saw, the last branch that's a Hack Week project this week, is something called Wave Mode. And this I was not sure about. I'm like, is it new waves in the ocean? But then I did some wave mode Googling, and it looks like it was a gameplay mode for like some other game. And I didn't go too far into the specifics of it, but I think the Wave Mode Hack Week project is a new gameplay mode that they're playing around with. And if someone has a lot more info on that or knows better than I do, feel free to type in chat and inform us all. But those are the Hack Week projects being worked on this week. Uh, Generally speaking, a Hack Week isn't necessarily a set week when it comes to Face Punch. We often see some of these projects will just go by the wayside, and then other ones will continue to be worked on and maybe even moved off a branch labeled Hack Week and just into a normal branch. But we'll keep you posted on these projects as we see more come to light. Also, being worked on this week is some stuff on the Nexus branch. Now, if you're not familiar, the Nexus branch is kind of a twofold thing. It's the server to server transfer stuff, and that's going to be where people can hop on a boat and go to a ferry terminal or something like that. And with their stuff, with their boat, with their friends, go from one server to another. And that's a functionality that's technically been in the game, but hasn't been launched yet. It looks like the Nexus servers, when they do go live, might be their own category of server. So it's not like originally we were thinking we could combine, say, US Medium 1 and US Medium 2 together, and they're both on the official list, and you can join each one independently of the other. Um, but it looks like these Nexus servers might be in their own category. So instead of official, community, or modded, it'll be a Nexus type of server. And that has like kind of a master server and then A, B, C, and D underneath it. And each one of those A, B, C, and D are their own server type of thing. Anyway, it's all to say we're not sure exactly how this is going to go live, but it is something that has been being worked on for well over a year now, and I think is at a place where it's close to being able to go live, but they're still adding to it and things like that. And the other like facet of this Nexus stuff beyond the server to server stuff is the whole clan system. And that whole clan functionality is basically like the team system on crack. It's basically instead of where the team functionality and the team UI stuff is to manage a team of like say 8 or 10 people, the Nexus clan functionality is to actually manage 100 or so people across multiple different servers. And so that clan functionality has the ability for posting messages and having different roles in the clan and different permissions and things like that. So it's going to be a really interesting thing, and potentially the clan system will only be live on say Nexus servers because that's where it makes sense. But also, it seems like the functionality might be used for other game modes because this week the focus appears to be on implementing various clan score events, things like player kills, deaths, destroying various items, hacking a crate, running the excavator, boarding the cargo ship, and various things like that. Basically, a score system that's basically tracking a clan and all of its players as a whole, and then accruing a point system depending on what they're doing. Now, it's not my sense, and granted, I'm not a developer, I'm not on the Face Punch payroll, so I'm just a fan of the game like you. But it's not my sense that this is going to go into vanilla gameplay and just have clans and vanilla servers like just aiming for the highest score. I think rather this is going to be part of some other gameplay thing, either a Twitch event or some other gameplay mode they're working on, or maybe it'll be an optional thing that you can add and have a leaderboard for on certain Nexus servers. Regardless, a lot of it is up in the air, but the thing to note is they're working on a scoring system for various different actions, and that's tied into the clan system and that server to server transfer stuff. Nothing to show off with that, all on a separate branch as with most of this stuff, but it is interesting to see this take shape. Also, they're working on some new building skins. These are ones that we've seen before. We got a preview of the other month, and now they're just getting them more and more ready to go. Neither have a specific release date yet, but one in particular we can imagine is going to go live in December at the very least because it is the gingerbread skin. And word on the street is this gingerbread skin is going to be just part of the Xmas event. So I don't think it's going to be a DLC. Maybe no, I don't think it's going to be a purchasable DLC at all because I don't see gingerbread houses. Just I don't see us roaming around the plains of Rust in like April and seeing gingerbread houses around. I don't think the devs would set it up in that way. So I think it is just going to be part of the Xmas event, and everyone will be able to use a gingerbread building skin during that Xmas event, or maybe you'll need to find something special. I don't know. But they're working on the gingerbread building skin, and they're also working on the Frontier building skin. And the Frontier building skin is kind of a little mini throwback, I guess, to the legacy building with just the planks of wood and things like that. And it's got kind of that old timey, a little Western kind of vibe to it going on. And it should match up perfectly with all these new Frontier building uh, Frontier base decor things that just came in the DLC. So, still in a separate branch, I imagine this Frontier DLC could go live with the December update, but we'll keep you posted as more comes to light. It does seem like, given the amount of commits and things like that, it is a stark possibility that we could see the Frontier building skin DLC go live December 7th. And then probably a week or so after for the Christmas event, we'll likely see the gingerbread skin go live as well. And then there's a couple other things being worked on, some initial work on new explosions. And that's something that I think is long overdue because, and I have a kind of unique or different view than a normal player. I mean, when an explosion goes off in the game, it all happens so quick. And so you don't really notice the fidelity of the explosion. But if you're like me, I take pictures of things a lot for the article and things like that. And whenever I try to take a picture of an explosion, it's pretty clear that the is it the SVGs or something? I don't know. The different elements of the explosion are kind of low fidelity and low quality. And so I imagine these new explosions are going to be a bit higher fidelity and things like this. It doesn't look like that's a Hack Week project, so I think it's very likely that at some point we will see new explosions come into the game. But it's still very much in the infancy initial work stage, so I wouldn't hold your breath. Also, they're working on a new version of the power plant monument. This is kind of like the power plant 2.0. Not clear what that's going to entail and if it's going to completely replace the current power plant or maybe we'll have two power plants. I kind of feel like it's going to be the former, not the latter on that one, but we'll keep you posted. Also, more work on Tutorial Island. This is, of course, the new type of server that's going to be live that will allow new players in the game to spawn on their own little mini island or tutorial island, if you will. And then on that island, they'll be able to do a couple missions with NPCs that kind of shows them the ropes of the game, harvesting, gathering, building, things like that. So more work on Tutorial Island. No word on when that's going to be going live. But frankly, let's be honest. If you're here, if you're an experienced player of the game or even semi-experienced, you're probably not going to touch Tutorial Island when it goes live anyway. So it's kind of like it seems like something for new players coming in the game, and they'll just spend maybe like an hour or so on it to just learn some of the basics of the game. And then finally, they are doing a weapon world model mass pass, which is a jumble of words in your mouth when you go to say it. But basically, the mass of the world models is being changed, and they're setting them to roughly 2/3 of their real life mass. Uh, and as you notice, if you think about this, when you drop something on the ground like an AK or something, you see it kind of flying around. And that's because the mass of most things in Rust are lighter than they really would be. Specifically, the world models are a lot lighter. And so they're just bringing the mass of that down. And that'll probably be when you drop a weapon, it won't bounce around as much. It'll just kind of like land on the ground and just stay there a bit more. So that's an interesting one to see. And they're doing a first pass on changing the mass on all those world models and weapons in particular. But that is about it for what's going on in Rust development this week. Miss D, we have any questions from the audience we want to cover?
We have some, yes. But let's say when SWIP.
WIP is at, well, for Rustified servers, it's at regular scheduled time for the region, which is 3 p.m. local time for each region. So that means EU wiped 3 hours and 25 minutes ago. and AU SEA wiped like 12 plus hours ago. And US servers will wipe in just over an hour and a half at 3 p.m. Eastern. Map wipes only today, and it is the Thursday weekly wipe servers. So that's your mains, your smalls, your barons, your Zen labs, and in EU, EUS.
After you got the new system on your servers, do you think it's getting better or worse for cheaters? I mean,
Definitely better. It's definitely improving. And now the thing with this anti-cheat stuff, and if you're not familiar, basically we are working on kind of a third party. It's an amalgamation of a third party we're working with, and we're working on our own stuff internally as well. And we're kind of using these things to try to get rid of hackers quicker, because the fact of the matter is EAC is not doing its job well enough. It's not getting rid of hackers quick enough. And VAC, I don't even know what the hell that does, if it does anything. And there's some in-game anti-cheat, but that's like, kicking people for a fly hack thing. It's not the long and short is what's baked into the game and what EAC provides is not enough to get rid of hackers. The hacker situation is plaguing the game. It has plagued the game for years. And at the beginning of this year specifically, I had enough waiting around for EAC to get their shit together, and we started exploring other options and developing other options. And it's a little slow going. It's slower going than I would like, but I will say with confidence that it is improving week by week by week. And we're taking our time with it, because if you get false positives, then it can result in people who are legitimate getting penalized for playing legitimate. So we want to be really careful with the false positives, but I am really thrilled with how the detection is going, how it's improving week by week. And we've got an update that we're launching in the next week or two, which should bring us even to the next level. So that's all with external in-house anti-cheat stuff and a little third-party stuff that we're working with. I'm really excited about it. I think it really will bring us to the point where we have a much better record at getting rid of hackers on the Rustafied servers than other servers that are just relying on EAC and things like that. And so I'm really excited about the future of that, and it is moving along. I can't and I won't go into any real details about any of that stuff, because it is a game of cat and mouse between the hackers and the server owners and the developers and EAC and everything. So I am very ambiguous in my language when I do discuss things like this, but I will say with confidence it is improving. I'm very excited about what we have on the horizon specifically about this, and I'm really happy with where it's at already. So we'll keep it moving forward. And once again, I'm not going to go into details about it, but it should get rid of hackers quicker, and it should result in a much, much less hackers in specifically Rustified servers.
and what happens if you get banned and you're not cheating? What do you do then?
Well, first you blame it on your brother. That seems to be what everyone does. No, what you do, you just go to rustified.com/support and you put in a ticket, and we do ban appeals, and there are occasionally false positives. It is, I'll be honest with you, it's hard to catch cheaters in the game of Rust. I mean, we finally have actual first person spectate, but for years and years we didn't even have proper first person spectate and things like that. So yeah, it can be difficult, but basically if you get banned and you don't think you should have been banned, then go to rustified.com/support, put in a ban appeal ticket, and we'll get back to you. We'll talk it out.
Is there any news about the global rendering?
Global rendering, I think that's still kind of being worked on a bit. Uh, was it? I forget. It wasn't turned on. Was it turned on by default again with the update? And then did they turn it off again? I'm like losing track of global rendering because it keeps on being turned on and turned off. I don't even know where it landed now.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is right now, but they turned it off and back on again for sure.
Yeah, they're doing the old fix the router technique of
Yeah,
just turn it on and turn it off again. Yeah, I think global rendering, it's a very cool functionality. If you're not familiar, that's where you can see bases from literally across the map. They're of course a lower fidelity, but you can make out and it will render the base from like really far away on the map. And of course, that's a really cool thing to be able to like climb in a helicopter and go up high and scope out bases across the map and things like that. or just climb up a big hill and then be able to like see what's on the horizon as opposed to just having it pop into view when you get in a very, very much closer render distance. But of course, and as expected, rendering bases across an entire map on a populated server with hundreds of players and hundreds of bases, there is an impact on performance. And I think they're still playing with how to properly roll that out in a way that totally won't fuck up performance for especially lower end PCs.
What about ping limit on servers so that I don't play against 300 to 400 ping people that just warp all over the place?
Well, that's nice in theory, but there's a couple things that where that breaks down. Uh, One, if say the host has an issue or you temporarily have an issue where you get some packet loss and your ping goes up temporarily, then you could be kicked when overall, generally speaking, your ping is fine. A lot of people also, you'd be surprised, but when we look at the pings of the servers, the players that are joining from far away and even on VPN generally don't have much more than like a 200 ping. Where people really get high pings is like network congestion on their end or on our server host end and things like that. So if we were to implement a ping limit thing, every time the network had a hiccup, then it might just kick the whole fucking server. And so we've thought about it, but with the state of the internet globally and everything like that, people don't generally have like 700 pings. It tends to be a couple hundred anyway, um, and it's not really a viable thing. It's the same thing with like the idea of region locking, like, oh, just shut out China, right? And then we won't have, the issue with the hacking clans from that region, right? But the fact of the matter is they all use VPN anyway, and they can tell the server they're from any country, really, using various different VPNs. And it becomes this cat and mouse game and this extra stuff. And then all the legitimate players from those regions either have to go somewhere else or they got to go through all this rigmarole. So it's unfortunately just not like a very viable thing. I understand why people suggest it and why they would think on at face value, oh, this would solve it, right? But really, at the end of the day, there's a lot more going on and a lot more fringe cases that impact it negatively and make it not as viable as you would think.
Is there any update on adding leaderboards to Rustafied servers?
We are working on it. We're actually looking for a developer to take that over. We had someone in mind and we had started scoping things out, but unfortunately that fell through. And with all the craziness with charitable Rust and things like that, I unfortunately haven't made that much forward progress with it. We do have a leaderboard system and a advanced stat system planned, so you can see across all our different servers all the stats, all your hit registration, all your accuracy, like all this stuff. We've got all that planned, but we don't want to just do like add a mod and just do what everyone else is already doing. I've seen the other leaderboards, I've seen the other stat system, and frankly, I'm like, yeah, it's better than nothing. But if we're going to do it, I want to do something special and something really that stands out. And so we've got it all mapped out, but I've got some conversations with some headhunters and stuff like that looking for developers. And if anyone knows any good developers who are familiar with Rust in the back end and specifically Harmony mod development and web development and stuff like that, definitely shoot one of us a DM. Mine might be closed, but maybe shoot Misty a DM and with a Discord name, and she can forward it on to me because we are looking for a developer for that. I really do want to launch the stat system and the leaderboard system for Rustafied sometime next year. Unfortunately, we did get just a couple delays over the last month or so, but I'm still shooting for a launch of that sometime next year.
Will there be a buyable skin for wood/high qual builds? There are already 3 stone versions, or is that workshop related?
Well, originally what was it? The Brutalist skin was originally an armored tier when it hit staging, and so that tells me they definitely can do other tiers of building skins. And it seems like It seems like they are focusing on releasing DLCs and adding more cosmetic things into the game and everything, and they're prioritizing that more so than I've ever seen them prioritize that in previous years. I imagine that will carry through into next year, and as it does, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see different skins for the other building tiers. But I don't think there's any like limitations on that. I don't think there's anything that's stopping them from doing that other than they just haven't prioritized it yet. So I do imagine we will see some other building skin tiers come in sometime next year, and they'll probably be in a similar form, in a DLC form.
Yeah, I think also they took it out because it looked like concrete or cement or something, right? So it was more stone and not really looking like high qual.
Yeah, I totally get why
So
they
I think it was a good call to take it out for
completely
and not being as a high qual. Yeah.
the brutalist when it hit, it really just looked like the inside of a stone wall. So and then now they did change some textures and everything like that to make it, but it really didn't make sense to have that be an armored skin. So yeah, I agree with Shadow or with Misty on this one.
There we
It's
go.
been a couple
Haven't said it
weeks.
for a few weeks.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't dead named you in a couple
I've
weeks.
been
I
so
did it.
proud of you.
Yeah, thanks. Well,
Nice, all
out the door
good.
that goes. But anyway,
I
but
don't
yeah,
take offense to it. It would be
I'm
weird.
glad. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really glad. But yeah, I think we will see some more building skin DLCs come in, and I think there will be more tiers of building skin. And in fact, the frontier might be a wood tier. Like I think the frontier is going to be a wood tier building skin because look at it, it's all fucking wood. I mean,
Yeah,
what
it's
else is it
totally.
going to be? It's not going to be a stone tier. It's all wood. So yeah, I imagine the first wood building skin is going to be that frontier, and I think that will go live in December. I think that's what they're shooting for.
So let's do a recap. I don't think we have any more questions for now. So if you do have questions, we can take some more after Box do a recap.
Yeah, we'll do a little recapity cap here. So we are a week since the forced wipe and update. And so, as is generally the case with that first week after, there's not a ton to show off on staging. That's why Artemis is just slowly, peacefully kind of lerping around the landscape of Rust as I run through. There are also a number of fixes coming out, as is also pretty common after a forced wipe and update. So the main fixes that already went live is that DLSS, the red error spam on the screen after the update. That was fixed. They're still working on finding the source of that error, but they basically just disabled DLSS by default due to that error spam and launched an update that did that. They also did some fixes for building block placements, which after the update last week were being a little janky and finicky and not allowing for a lot of stuff. So they did a optional client fix for that. They are working on a number of other fixes, moving the top storage adapter slot for the tool cupboard closer to the center so that the input slot isn't blocked when a TC is placed flush with the wall. They're doing some fixes for parachutes deploying near helicopters, some fixes for dropped items. That's like when you drop an item in a boat or whatever and stopping it from going through the boat. They're doing some more fixes for that. They've got a fix for the blackjack game stalling out if a non primary player left the game early in a round. There's an NRE with Iokas and rocking chairs, so that's being fixed. And they're also attempting to fix the triangle floor / triangle roof stability edge case after server restart, because on a server restart, it looks at it calculates the stability of all the buildings and everything like that. And there's something weird going on with the triangle flooring, and they're working on fixing that. They might have a fix for that. There's probably another bunch of fixes being worked on, but I think generally the hot fixes that we saw are probably the hot fixes we're going to see for this month. And a lot of these other fixes are probably going to wait until December 7th. They're also working on a new weapon. We're seeing the first work being done on the B shotgun branch, which is based on the commits, an M4 shotgun, which is a tactical shotgun made by the Italian company Benelli. And it is a semi-automatic shotgun. It fires 12 gauge rounds and has like 6 rounds per magazine, basically. It's more of a higher end shotgun, is my sense of it. Is more of a tactical, like military grade type thing. So that's being worked on. Really, the work now is mainly within the realm of models and textures and initial animations. So no word when we can expect this. No word what it's going to cost or how rare it will be, but it is being worked on. There's also some Hack Week projects being worked on. If you're not familiar, Hack Week is where the devs kind of individually pause on whatever they were working on and then just start working on whatever they personally would like to see in the game. And they get basically a week or so to work on that and then to see if it's a viable thing that they want to actually add to the game. Previously, we have seen some of these Hack Week projects go live, including the chat emojis was originally a Hack Week project. But a lot of them we haven't seen go live, and they kind of just float off like the airbase idea and things like that. This week, we're seeing work on voxel raiding, which is kind of where when you raid, it destroys just various parts of the wall, but not the whole wall, which is cool. There's a video linked that demonstrates that on Rustafied.com. If you just scroll down to the Hack Week section, click on voxel rating, you can see kind of Jake Rich did a video showing off an example of what's being worked on with that. There's also a Gamagachi being worked on, and that is like a Rust Tamagotchi being worked on. So not sure if that's going to make it into the game, but if you've ever wanted a Tamagotchi in Rust, I can't imagine. Literally, has anyone ever wanted that? I don't.
I don't believe so.
I can't
I've
imagine.
never heard of it.
Yeah,
I
I
was thinking it's
literally.
something to do with the pets, possibly. Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe
Yeah.
I don't
that
know.
would be a cool way to manage your pets if you do it through a Tamagotchi or something. I don't know, but anyway,
It's pretty out there.
it's pretty out there. But hey, that's what Hack Week projects are for, right? So that's the Gamagachi being worked on. There is a little visual of that Art of Pilgrim posted on X, and I linked to it on my article as well on rustafied.com. You can go check it out. There's a Rust Expressions branch, Hack Week branch being worked on, which is basically a basic code editor, in-game code editor. I imagine this will just be used by developers if it ever makes it into the game, maybe mod creators or something, but that's being worked on. There's a fast mirror branch on the Hack Week branches, and that is, I think, to get mirrors working better. Mirrors were originally part of the Frontier base decor DLC, but were removed like at last minute due to performance concerns. And so I imagine the fast mirror stuff is to resolve those performance concerns. And so maybe we will see mirrors at some point in the future. There's also a server-side player movement branch being worked on. So this is the initial process of moving all player movement processing to the server side instead of the client side. That is a interesting one. Not sure if that's going to make it in, and not sure what, if it does, what ramifications that would have on server performance and things like that. Because as a server owner, that's where I'm thinking about it from. But it could have some very positive ramifications for anti-cheat and things like that. So interesting one to keep an eye on. Cliff rework is also being worked on. So they're just reworking, after a number of people have requested this, just reworking some of the cliffs in the procedural generation maps around. And so maybe we'll get some new cliffs in the game soon. And then finally, there's a wave mode branch being worked on. I believe this is a new game mode. Googling did have wave mode come up with, I forget what even the fucking game was, but it was a different game, and it had a wave mode game mode. And so I think this might be a mirror of that, just a new game mode potentially coming in for Rust. Also being worked on the Nexus branch. The Nexus branch is that server to server transfer stuff, but it's also the clan system. And related to the clan system, we're seeing this week a focus on implementing various clan score events. So basically having a clan as a whole have a score such that it can measure up against other clans in the server. And these events that would give points include things like player kills, player deaths, destroying various items, hacking a crate, running the excavator, boarding the cargo ship, and various other things. And it's not immediately clear if or how these events will be implemented in the game. I don't get the sense they're going to be just part of normal vanilla gameplay. I don't even know if the clan system itself is ever going to be part of normal vanilla server gameplay. Given they combined it with the Nexus server to server transfer stuff, it makes me think the clan system might only be turned on for Nexus-based servers that are kind of a node or a hub that have multiple different nodes that are all different servers that players can get to via boats in the game. So we're keeping an eye on this. This could also be related to certain Twitch Rivals events or other game modes or other events that they're doing. So definitely interesting to see, but I don't think this is coming into normal vanilla gameplay. Also, they're doing some more work on upcoming building skins. First, the Frontier skin is being worked on. This will likely be a DLC to launch next month for the December 7th update. It is going to be a wood tier DLC from the looks of it, because the entire thing is freaking wood. So I can't imagine it would be any otherwise. It's kind of like a throwback to a little bit of a homage, you could say, to the legacy building system, because it is those like straight wood planks going up and down kind of vibe. And it should complement the recently launched Frontier base decor DLC items as well. So that should be nice. They're doing more work on that. We got a little visual on rustified.com for that. It's not available on staging yet, but I imagine as the next week or two goes by, we'll probably see it hit staging if indeed it is going to go live for the December update. And then, second building skin being worked on is the gingerbread building skin. And this is most likely, I'd say 99.9%, going to be a part of the Xmas event for this year. I don't think it's going to be its own DLC. I don't think it's going to be a year-round thing where you're running around in the summer and you see a gingerbread base in Rust. I think it's just going to be part of the Xmas event for the couple weeks that they run it in the end of December. So we'll keep you posted on that. They're doing a couple other things as well, working on some new explosions. This is the initial work for just some new FX, it looks like, for the explosions, which I think would be cool. They're working on a 2.0 version of the power plant monument. So we got a new nuclear plant potentially coming in the future. They're doing more work on Tutorial Island. And then finally, they're doing some work on the actual mass of weapon world models. So like the weight of it, so to speak. I know mass and weight aren't the same exact thing, but it kind of is in this case. It's similar in this case. So it's just like right now when you toss a weapon on the ground, you can see it doesn't have much mass. It doesn't carry much weight. It just kind of bobs around and can bounce around easily. And now what they're doing is setting it to roughly 2/3 of their real life mass. So when you drop a weapon, it'll probably just hit the ground and stay there a little bit better once this is released. And that's about all going on in Rust development for the week.
So this is not a question, but someone said, just want to say that I love your streams. It's very informative.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And I'm so happy to be able to do this every week. And I'm so thankful that we've got Artemis and Misty joining me every week. Thank you guys as always.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm always
Welcome.
grateful to do it. Always happy
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah. And it's really cool to have an opportunity to, just communicate every week with the community. And man, we've been doing these streams for like 8, almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts. And to anyone tuning in, a lot of people think we're either developers of the game, or we're part of the Face Punch team, or we're on the Face Punch payroll,
Or EAC.
or EAC. Fuck, not,
Yeah.
no, thank you. Um, but in fact, none of those are the case. We are just an independent organization. We're just fans of the game like you, who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way that we can do that is actually through the support of the community. So I do want to take an opportunity and thank every single person who tunes in and watches each week, to people who throw bits and subscribe on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers. Thank you so much, because literally we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of the community. And we've been running this now for, I started these servers about 10 years ago, like in it was in 2013. This is our 10-year anniversary here. And I can't believe what it's grown into over that time. I had no idea it would grow into what it has over that time. And to be able to do things like charitable Rust, we've done that for 9 years running. We've raised over $1.3 million for various charities. It really is so freaking cool to see where we've come and what has been built from that. So thank you for the acknowledgement. And it's all to say I'm happy and very grateful to be here.
Aw. What was this? Yeah, here. I would love to see some art doorways slash door. Oh my God. I would love some art doorways slash doors and rounded foundation walls and ceilings.
Yeah, some arches, some different, yeah.
Art. Oh, I said that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, no, it's fine. You were pretty close. Arch. It's but I agree with you. I would love to see
Yeah.
some more like maybe ornamental type building stuff. Like maybe it doesn't have all the utility, but it can create more unique bases. I'd love to see some more base elements and stuff like that. Although as they add more and more base to core DLCs, that gets harder and harder for the devs because not only do they have to account for the vanilla base tiers, but then they've got all the DLCs they'll have to account for. So I don't know how many new base building elements we will see in the grand scheme of the game, but I'm with you. I'd love to see some more, you know, variation even in just the different elements.
Yeah, they would have to do like have foundation to like have circle foundations and as well, I think. Like
Mm.
for corners and
I think it's just a half whip foundation would be lovely
yeah.
too, wouldn't it?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, have. Yeah, that would be.
Man, this is making me miss my half blocks from back in the
Do
day.
you
I
know?
fucking,
Yeah.
And
man, I miss my
pillars.
half blocks.
Yeah, for sure.
Ah, that was like 6 years ago. Those are gone. I'm still like, damn, I miss my half block.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think even stability would be easier just with the pillar and not always just the frames. You have more options just with the pillar, right?
yeah.
So, next question. Um, Something that I just thought of is years ago we used to talk about the ladder hatches. We never saw like a high core ladder hatch. Do you think we ever get that?
See, that makes a lot of sense too. I'm not sure we'll ever get it, but that is one of those things that would have made a lot of sense. Uh, like that's up there with punching people in the face, as far as I'm concerned, because the developers are
Face
called Face
punch.
Punch.
Yeah.
You know, like I got your primary game. I can't punch anyone in the face. What's going on here? But no, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think some more ladder hatch options would be cool. I think there's a lot of stuff in the base building realm that could definitely be added to. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more with that as time progresses. It doesn't look like the development of this game is going anywhere anytime soon. So anything's possible.
Yeah, I do want to say if I missed any questions, it's probably because you didn't add my name and it's hard to, see it if it's not added with so many people typing. So if you do want me to see something, do add Misty underscore that's me, please, so I can see it better. However, someone also said, Rustafied, I love your stream so much. Are there any plans to optimize the game?
Yeah. Well, optimization is one of those funny things because it's never done. There's no like silver optimization bullet where you shoot the game with that and then you're just set. With any game that's in active development, optimization is always going to be this ebb and flow thing because as you add more things in, that those things are going to need to be optimized. You know, we're talking about the global render distance and global rendering. That's a huge optimization thing that optimization could be in a good place and then they launch that and optimization goes to shit. Same thing with server side player movement. If they were to say optimization was great right now, which I don't think it is, but say it was, and then they change something with like the all the player movement is moved to the server end, then I could see servers lagging out and optimization going down. So it's this ebb and flow thing, but but I don't want you to think that the devs never think about optimization. Optimization is on the top of their mind when they're releasing a new feature. In fact, they just removed the mirrors from the DLC because it wasn't optimized properly and because it had a negative impact on performance. So optimization is this kind of tricky ebb and flow thing, and the devs are definitely aware of it. Now, are they going to like take a whole month and dedicate everyone towards optimization? I don't think so because not every developer can work on optimization. Some people just work on the models of the game, and other people just work on animations, and other people work on sounds. So it's this thing that the devs have to monitor, but you can tell they care about it because, and for everyone saying, oh, they just care, all they're just money grabbing now because they're releasing all these DLCs and they don't care about anything else. Well, clearly that's wrong because if they didn't care about optimization, they wouldn't have taken out the mirror from the DLC last week because the mirror could have been a sell point for a lot of people on the DLC. It could have made them more money, but they didn't launch with it because it wasn't optimized. And so the devs are aware of optimization. They're working on it. I think there's a lot of work to do, but it is something that there's not just like going to be a week where they're like, okay, the game's optimized now. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. Let me see here. Will there be a gingerbread-based building competition?
I think there very well might be. I'm not aware of anyone that Rustafied is running, but Face Punch, I could see them running one because they just did the pumpkin carving. And congratulations to the winners of that, by the way. But they did a pumpkin carving uh, competition. I could see a gingerbread building competition. That would make a lot of sense, especially with this new gingerbread skin coming in for December.
Is there any way that y'all can change the ad breaks during stream to the beginning?
Yeah, that's been fucking like Twitch changed something. I'm not sure what happened with that. And then I got in there. I think I made things worse. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but the back end of Twitch, and maybe I'm just old manning it here. Maybe I'm just a grumpy old man and nothing makes sense to me anymore. But I'm looking through this shit. I'm like, what the fuck? What is an ad incentive share program? What is this? What is that? I'm gonna go in there. I'll be straight with you. I'm not trying to make money off of these ads. We got 500 people watching, and I'll be straight. If I maxed out all the ads, and we only stream for an hour a week, what am I going to get? $50 at the end of the month, and it ruins all your guys, experience. That's not something I'm looking to do. So, but I know something changed with it the other week, and it's been shitty since, because you're not the first person to complain about it or to mention it. I'm not saying you're complaining over here, but that was a very nice request, in fact, that you made. So I appreciate that. But it's all to say, after this, I am going to go in. I'm going to try to just disable all this shit, because I fucking hate ads. You look at Rustafied.com. I know everyone has ad block, but I'll tell you, we have 0 ads on Rustafied.com, because I think it ruins the experience. It ruins the consumption experience. And I think the internet as a whole is ugly as shit because of all the ads everywhere. And so, yeah, as you can tell, I'm not a fan of ads. And
Yeah.
Twitch, like, changed something and they're running more ads on us. I don't even think we're making anything off of this shit. It's just Bezos running ads for his fucking diaper cream or whatever he's doing. Well, I don't think those run on this. It's not really key for this audience. It's probably more like Modern Warfare 3 ads or some shit. But regardless, I think it's bullshit. I'm with you. I'm gonna take one more like spelunking into the depths of whatever this ad program is for Twitch, and just try to turn everything the fuck off. Yeah, you can tell it's been
Yeah,
bothering me a
aiming
little
into
bit,
that.
but yeah, so hopefully next week it's better. And thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for putting that request in kindly.
Yeah. So, Andrew, we just literally answered your question about optimizing the game. So you would have to watch the VOD. Sorry.
Yeah, optimize your questions, dog. No,
Yeah.
optimize your listening. No, I'm kidding. Much love, much love.
So yeah, I think that's it for today.
Cool, awesome. Well, we will leave it at that. Oh, someone got male sexual health ads as a female. Nice. Targeted
Oh,
advertisement.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Anyway,
assuming.
well, we are going to wind this puppy down. Once again, thank you to everyone who tunes in. We are just an independent organization. We're not on the Face Punch payroll. We're not developers of the game. So we do really, we are only able to do this through the support of the community. So once again, everyone who tunes in, who gives bits, subscribes on Twitch, and to our beautiful, wonderful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so much. Artemis and Misty, thank you guys, as always, for being my co-MCs here.
You're welcome as always.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
And as always, we will be back same time, same place next week, 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays, to give you a rundown of what's going on in Rust development. Also, as always, check out rustafied.com and Rustafied on X for news throughout the week. And with that, we're going to wind this puppy down. I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.